Through the heavy velvet curtains, she glimpsed the audience, strangers, critics, and most hauntingly, her estranged father sitting in the third row. Why was he here? Was it too late to tell the opera director that she couldn't go on? Lila, you on in 5, a stagehand whispered. She nodded, her heart pounding louder than the applause that welcomed the orchestra onto the stage. Welcome to our ESL story series. In this series, we'll take you on a journey of self-discovery, overcoming challenges and finding the deeper meaning in life. Each story features relatable characters, dramatic twists, and powerful lessons that will help you improve your English vocabulary, reading comprehension, conversation skills, and we include a full glossary. Before reading, start by reviewing the glossary to understand the key vocabulary. And while reading, focus on understanding the character's emotions, the character's motivations, and the relationships. Pause at dramatic moments to predict what might happen next. And after reading, take a moment to reflect on the story using the discussion questions that we will provide and consider how the themes apply to your own life. While watching this episode, bear these in mind. What are the protagonist's challenges and how do they change over the course of the story? And how does the antagonist influence the story's events? And what's the moral or life lesson in this story? Lila is a gifted violinist, and she takes the stage for the most important performance of her life. But her estranged father is watching from the audience. In this touching, heartwarming ESL story, discover how music becomes a bridge for reconciliation and how even mistakes can lead to healing. This heartfelt story is perfect for B2 level English learners, combining rich vocabulary, relatable themes, and emotional storytelling. As you listen, think about these questions. Why is Lila nervous about her performance? What causes Lila to falter during her solo? How does Lila and her father's relationship change by the end of the story? And at the end of the story, comment and let me know if you have ever reconciled with someone after a long time, and how did it feel? And do you think that art and music can heal relationships? Our vocabulary for today: virtuoso. Virtuoso, a person who's highly skilled in music or any other artistic pursuit. Virtuoso. Estranged. Estranged means no longer close or affectionate with someone. Estranged. Ovation, a loud, long applause, usually for a performance. Ovation, a standing ovation. Reconciliation. Reconciliation is the act of making peace or reconnecting. Reconciliation. Exquisite. Exquisite means extremely beautiful. Exquisite. Empathy. Empathy means the ability to understand and to share the feelings of others. Empathy. Redemption. Redemption is the act of being saved from error or from evil. Redemption. Strings of Fate. The concert hall was packed with hundreds of eager faces, their whispers and rustling coats echoing off the grand chandeliers. Lila stood backstage, her trembling hands clutching the neck of her violin. She adjusted the strap of her flowing burgundy dress, its silk shimmering under the dim yellow lights. Through the heavy velvet curtains, she glimpsed the audience, strangers, critics, and, most hauntingly, her estranged father sitting in the third row. Why was he here? Was it too late to tell the opera director that she couldn't go on? "Lila, you're on in 5, a stagehand whispered. She nodded, her heart pounding louder than the applause that welcomed the orchestra onto the stage. Lila was a virtuoso. At 25, she had performed in the finest venues across Europe, yet tonight felt different. Her father, a retired pianist, had been her first teacher and harshest critic. Their bond had frayed years ago when she chose to pursue her passion on her own terms. "I don't need you to make music," she told him. "You're ungrateful," he'd replied, slamming the door on their relationship. Now, seeing him in the audience felt like both a challenge and a plea. As the conductor raised his baton, the opening notes of the symphony filled the room. Lila's bow moved effortlessly across the strings, producing a sound so exquisite it drew tears from some audience members. But her gaze kept drifting to her father. His face was impassive, his hands clasped tightly in his lap, almost as if in prayer. Was he praying that she didn't mess up? He was a man who always focused on her failures. The pressure was more than she could bear. Halfway through her solo, she faltered. A single note rang out sourly, disrupting the flow of the piece. Gasps rippled through the audience. Panic clawed at her chest. Lila closed her eyes, forcing herself to focus. When she opened them, her father's eyes had softened. He nodded, almost imperceptibly, as if saying, "You've got this." Her hand tightened on her bow, then loosened, and she let the music flow through her. The performance ended with a standing ovation. Backstage, she expected to be swarmed by admirers, but it was her father who appeared first. "That was beautiful," he said gruffly. "Even the part where I messed up?" she asked softly, feeling small and vulnerable. She knew how he hated errors. He hesitated, especially that part. "It reminded me of when you were 10. You made the same mistake during your first recital. Do you remember what I said?" "You said I wasn't good enough," she replied, her voice breaking. He sighed. "I was wrong. I wanted you to be perfect because I wasn't. But tonight I saw something else, your passion, Your resilience, it's more than I ever had. The air between them felt heavy with years of unspoken words. Finally, Lila asked, "Why did you come tonight?" She needed to know. "I wanted to see if you still played with heart," he admitted. And he smiled faintly. "You do." Lila felt a lump in her throat as tears welled in her eyes. For the first time in 5 years, she hugged her father, her tiny hands holding onto the thick, warm fiber of his tweed coat. Suddenly, the world felt warmer, the theater brighter, the applause louder. As they stood there, a reporter approached, camera in hand. "Miss Lila, a quick photo for the paper?" Her father started to pull away, but she held him close. "Take it with both of us," she said firmly. "Once upon a time, he was a famed pianist," she added, giving her father's full name. The photo appeared in the papers the next morning. Lila and her father, reunited and smiling, framed by the warm glow of the concert hall. It wasn't the end of their story, but it was a new beginning. Before you go, take a moment to like, subscribe, and comment about the discussion questions. Have you ever reconciled with someone after a long time, and how did it feel? I'd love to know your thoughts. Please put them in the comments below.